I've been with my husband since high school, and his dad has always made me uncomfortable. Father-in-law adores, borderline worships, his wife and is very cold to everyone else. I always thought the family dynamic was a bit weird, but everyone else was nice. Mother-in-law is questionable, but I love his siblings. I got pregnant right out of high school and we needed financial help. Around the same time, mother-in-law was diagnosed with late-stage cancer and the prognosis was not great. Father-in-law was devastated. I mean, he pretty much stopped speaking to anyone but her. Mother-in-law has always been vain and she had a nervous breakdown when she started losing her hair. They are well off and she had the best wigs money could buy. I guarantee most people didn't know she was wearing a wig, but it was very hard on her. I have long blonde hair, as did she. Apparently, my hair was triggering her, so father-in-law told me it had to go. I told him that was unfair. He told me I could cut it or be homeless. I agreed and he took scissor and cut it off. I wasn't expecting him to just do it like that and it looked terrible. That was 10 years ago. Mother-in-law did make it, though it was a long road. All of father-in-law's kids view him as a hero because he took such good care of her, but I still hold a lot of resentment. My kids are not allowed around them without me or my husband present. The kids are pretty indifferent to father-in-law but adore mother-in-law and recently were questioning why they can't have sleepovers like their cousins do. I was honest about what he did and why I don't trust him. My kids ended up calling mother-in-law and father-in-law and confronting them. Mother-in-law made excuses and made it all about her. My 8-year-old daughter got very upset and said that she doesn't want to see them anymore. Mother-in-law swore at me, kids weren't present, and said I poisoned them against her. I said that her own husband's actions did that. Mother-in-law isn't talking to me currently and accused me of making fun of her cancer. She always plays the victim when she is cornered, but for the most part, people are on my side. Not the idiot. So father-in-law threatened you with homelessness if you didn't cut your hair because it was triggering mother-in-law who was losing her hair due to a cancer battle. And when you agreed he took it upon himself to cut it and going even further than you expected. That's messed up. Yeah, if he has the capacity to be that level of crappy, who knows what else he's capable of. Personally, I'd go no contact towards them and it sounds like your kids wouldn't disagree. Not the idiot. You said what happened and the kids can do what they want. But the way you talk about mother-in-law is disgusting. Losing your hair while you have cancer is devastating. Has nothing to do with being vain and she could buy all the expensive wigs, no one knew they were wigs. She knew. Hair makes your identity, you're losing it out of your own control. This is not easy at all and the way you think she is vain because of that says a lot about your character. What father-in-law did was atrocious and abusive, no apology for that. Not the idiot, kids aren't stupid. If you had lied you'd hardly be setting a good example to your kids, would you? Of course, sometimes the truth doesn't need to be said. However, when it has something to do with your kids, if they ask, you tell them and you did. They then phoned their grandparents up for clarification and all they got was lies. Your in-laws have dug their grave and now they have to lie in it. This was a perfect opportunity for them to have some redemption and show they were sorry it had happened, but instead, they decided to act the victim. Kids are not stupid. My 29 husband, 30, is a serial whiner. He moans and whines daily and constantly. I'm a pretty positive person and I know I'm very patient, but that has a limit. We have a son, 18 months, me and husband both work from home. The day he was bemoaning the fact that there was nothing for lunch in the house, but he didn't just moan, he started going on and on about how he was starving while I was trying to settle our son for his nap. I was trying my hardest to be patient. I even told him to wait for me to settle son, then I'd pop to the shop and grab something, but no. Despite the fact that I was clearly getting stressed because his son was being difficult and was overtired, so was screaming and crying and didn't want to be touched but wanted to be touched. Instead of offering to settle son himself, he just continued to stand there whining about being hungry. Eventually, I snapped, I lost my cool and yelled, "Will you just effing stop?" and left him with my son while I stormed outside with a cig to have just 5 minutes alone. He came outside and told me I owed him an apology, which I admitted I do, but I also explained that I've told him several times now that his non-stop whining was affecting me mentally, especially when it's me who does the food shopping, cleaning, getting up and dealing with son all day every day, while trying to stay positive, work and not go full Hulk, and smash everything in a 6-mile radius. I reminded him that I've told him so many times that his constant moaning is like a pickaxe to my mental health, and every day it's chipping away at it, and I can't take it anymore. I'm at the point where I'm one whine away from a breakdown. Anyway, I later got a call from his mum, Nan, and sister who told me I was out of order for yelling at him and then lecturing him after apologizing, as that negated the apology. It's made me doubt myself. Am I the idiot for telling him to just stop whining when I'm the one who deals with everything? Not the idiot. Instead of offering to settle son himself, he just continued to stand there whining about being hungry. It's such a sad situation that shops near you just don't allow men inside, isn't it? I assume that's the situation, otherwise, I can't imagine why he'd be incapable of getting his own damn food. Since you're doing it all alone anyway, why are you even living with him if he's draining you so much? As for tattling to his mum or whatever, I don't even, why, adult, hell. I don't even know where to start. Not the idiot. Yes, we could argue that you shouldn't have snapped, but under the circumstances, who wouldn't? Everyone has their breaking point. Why couldn't he have spent that time whining to go and get something for the two of you for lunch? He could obviously see you were busy. Does he contribute equally to chores and raising your child? From your post, it sounds like you're caring for 2 children. Your husband's behavior is not acceptable and his family are enabling him, but perhaps they do not know the full story. Not the idiot, but it's fitting that he whines. He has never grown up and cut the apron strings. Telling tales to mommy and grandma, getting them to call to berate you after being told to stop whining, is not reasonable behavior from a grown man. I'd say call him out on dragging his family into your marriage. It's bad enough he takes a metaphorical pickaxe to your mental health every time he starts to whine like a baby, but he can't even say the way you spoke to me hurt my feelings and needs to bring his family in to attack you instead. I supervise 15 employees. Annie got too comfortable working from home. We gave a wide berth for everyone to try to cope, but Annie took a mile. She'd attend meetings in her unmade bed with bed head, let her dogs bark, and insist she couldn't put them in another room, etc. We let it slide because this was an adjustment for all, but did remind her that despite us being on Zoom, we needed to still act and try to look professional. After coming back, it got worse. We don't expect everyone to be runway ready, but she'll wear hoodies that have obviously been worn for days, leggings, ratty shoes, hair in a very messy bun, old makeup, etc. Annie came in with a black fleece absolutely covered in dog hair. I pulled her aside, asked if she had a change of clothes for our 11 a.m. meeting. She said no. I asked, then do you have a lint roller? She again said no and looked down and asked what was wrong with what she was wearing. At this point, I'd had enough and said, dude, you're covered in dog hair. She giggled and said, I gave the doggies extra snuggles before work. I tried my best to be gentle, saying she had to either change or take off the jacket. 11 comes around, I'm greeting clients, she comes in, still covered in nasty dog hair. I pulled her out of the room saying we forgot a USB, went to my office, and handed her a lint brush. I told her to get as much of the dog hair off her jacket as she could, and we'd have a talk later. Annie stomped off instead and said she was using her sick time for the rest of the day. I handled the meeting. She threw a fit all over social media about her oppressive employer, who just doesn't understand what depression or anxiety are, how hard she worked just to get out of bed, etc. She said I shamed her publicly, made her feel lower than low, all because she was experiencing separation anxiety from her dogs while she was at work and was struggling with depression dealing with everything. I have an outdated idea of being office ready. The comments were what made me come here to post. Pretty much everyone siding with her on our archaic ideas of working in offices, how we obviously don't care about our employees' mental health, etc. I know we're facing a new normal kind of situation where things are rapidly changing. We are not the kind of business where everything can be done remotely forever, and I don't think that it's a stretch to request someone use a freaking lint roller before a meeting. But that's why I'm here. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I dried her up, not necessarily for the wardrobe stuff, she can consider that instance as her first verbal warning and will be written up in the future, but the social media behavior. That is unacceptable and depending on the company's policy, possibly a reason for immediate termination. But yeah, her behavior is completely unacceptable. New normal does not mean throwing everything out the window just because you got away with wearing hoodies for a while. Everyone's the idiot here. Annie needs to be work ready, but you don't sound like you're handling this very well as her manager. You are tiptoeing around the actual issue instead of dealing with it head on. Stop giving way to these new normal excuses and start taking some actual action to address the issue. Get your concerns in writing, have a meeting with her, have her sign something at the end of the meeting that she understands what was discussed. How is she supposed to know her behavior is an issue when her own manager treats it like it's no big deal? Not the idiot. I struggle severely with depression, anxiety and possibly attention deficit. Okay, it's hard to get out of bed and do stuff, but running a lint roller through her clothes is literally so easy and has nothing to do with anxiety. If anything, it's preventing it because the embarrassment of looking like that would trigger it. You're not outdated, and that's coming from a Gen Z kid. I really do think that she's using her mental health to get away with stuff and then trying to make you feel bad for her downfalls. Don't fall for it. Kind of petty, but here goes. So my mom and dad divorced a long time ago when I was 15. I'm 25 now. My mom also died 2 years ago from cancer. This past weekend I got emotional after talking to my siblings about mom, so I found an old photo of us at the beach. I love this photo because it reminds me of our happy childhood, and I love how my mom looked in it. In the photo, my dad has his arms around my mom, and us kids are grinning in front of a huge sandcastle we all built together. It was really sweet and not at all romantic or anything, so I set it as my profile pic on a messaging app I use to communicate with all family or friends. Not 24 hours later, I get a passive-aggressive text from my stepmom about this photo. She said it's shocking to see my current profile pic in a family group chat we're all in together that she can clearly see. She said it's a slap in the face to see her husband with another woman after she fought so hard to legitimize their marriage. She said I should know better than to dig out a photo like that to parade in front of her. I basically told her it's none of her business what my profile is like and went back to sleep. I wake up to a torrent of texts from her, my dad, my stepsibs, and some relatives from her side of the family. Apparently, stepmom had a full-on breakdown while I was sleeping because she was convinced I did it on purpose to humiliate her. Everyone took her side because she lied and claimed I directly told her the photo was meant as an insult to her. I'm furious, but I refuse to change the picture now. I was planning on changing it anyways, but now that I'm pissed off I just want to keep it forever. Am I the idiot for acting this way? I feel a little petty for wanting to make this picture permanent, but also mostly mad at my stepmom for making this about her when it was anything but. Not the idiot. That's your family. It's not like you put your parents' wedding photo up and drew a heart around it and wrote together forever. She obviously has her own unresolved issues she is projecting onto you. Now she is manipulating people to turn against you. She's got low self-esteem. Be petty. Leave the profile photo. If anyone else gives you crap for it, then change all your social media to that photo. Or if you really want to upset her, then find a wedding photo of just your parents and draw a heart around it and caption it together forever and see what happens. Not the idiot. My dad died when I was a child, and I very quickly gained a stepfather who was so jealously possessive of my mom that he banned pictures or even talk about my dad. I had a couple of photos of him smuggled in by my grandmother and hidden under the carpet in my room. Fast forward 30 years, and even though my mom has been with a different man entirely for a long time, my learned experience from childhood has affected me to the point that I was only able to frame a photo of my mom and dad together this year. Not the idiot. Your stepmom screws in so many ways, but the biggest is her immaturity in denying the fact that your dad's relationship with your mom existed, and it doesn't delegitimize her marriage to him now. And the fact that her tragic insecurity is causing her to lash out with the expectation that other people will comply with ridiculous requests to make her feel better. Does she want you to edit your mom out of old photos? How about erasing your memory to make her feel better? How insane. We had an ultrasound last week. Our son measured over 8 pounds even though my wife was only 36 weeks. She was told that our baby could be a 10-pounder and was upset because her doctor advised her to mentally prep for a C-section if he ends up being that big. She is also worried about having to deliver him if a C-section isn't required because he will be so large. She has been upset about it for days, and I told her that I thought she was worrying way too much since my mother gave birth to me and my 2 brothers with no issue and we all weighed over 9 pounds. She even did it naturally. That apparently was the wrong thing to say and she had a breakdown. I was told I was unsupportive for telling her that she shouldn't be worried instead of acknowledging her concerns, which I don't get. Those scans from what I have read aren't even that accurate, so it's not worth getting upset over when they could be wrong, and even if they aren't, there's nothing that can be done about it. The baby is going to grow as much as it grows. I still suggested that she speak to my mom about her experience because I knew that she'd assure her it wasn't as bad as she was expecting. She said she didn't want to speak to my mom, but I asked my mom to call her anyway when she was still sulking. She also got upset over this. I was only trying to help her and stop her from worrying, and the best way to do that, I thought, was by pointing out my mom's experience with big babies. Edit. I just want to clarify that my mom is smaller than my wife, so that is why I thought it would make her more comfortable. You're the idiot. Hugely. Just because one woman had a certain experience does not mean it will be easy for your wife, and it's certainly not nothing to worry about. Instead of supporting her and acknowledging her feelings, you basically just told her they weren't valid. Giving birth for the first time is frightening, and knowing about potential complications makes it even more so. Then you got your mommy to intervene, even though your wife explicitly asked you not to. You have a lot of growing up to do, and fast. You're the idiot. Her doctor, who is intimately familiar with your wife's anatomy, has told her that this is something that she needs to be prepared for, but for some reason, you think that one anecdotal example means she doesn't need to worry. Any labor is a physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausting experience, and the last thing your wife needs is her idiot of a husband downplaying legitimate concerns raised by her doctor. Apologize and educate yourself. You're the idiot. I won't bother telling you why because a lot of other commenters have done it best already. However, I suggest you start getting educated on childbirth, babies, and postpartum now, in the few weeks you have left before you become a father, because it's glaringly obvious how uneducated you are about all this, and you are going to need to know some basic crap without your wife having to walk you through everything, as you must surely have been assuming. Be better, OP. Apologize and learn.